in the following days to the end of the month, I'm going to go through the notes from my studies of 2024, which I haven't shared yet. And so I'm going to share those studies. The first studies, I think I have done a video, and so I'm going to just keep talking about it. And I think in this video, until I do a formal study of it. And so I'll start off today with my article. I don't have my article. I don't think I have my article on my laptop. I haven't found it there. I'll have to look for it in this phone. And so my article is actually my laptop in Maritzburg. I don't remember where else I put it. I think I put in my SD card. So I have that going on, my article about Islam. So I'm first going to read from, I've already prayed, so if you guys are interested to pray, you can pray. I'm going to read from Revelations chapter 9. I'm going to read Revelations chapter 9 and verse 1 to 21. So this is the entire chapter. It reads, "And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion, when he striketh a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it. Hello everyone who's just come in. And on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men, and they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates as it were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. Apollyon actually means destroyer. I think this is from the concordance. I have to check. One woe is past, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter. So, when we read from Revelations chapter 8, verse 13, it says, "And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the 3 angels which are yet to sound." So I'm talking about the trumpets, I think. I'm talking about the trumpets, and these are the three woes which happen to be the three trumpets that are yet to sound here. I don't know if these three woes are the last trumpets, but of course I know and understand about the woes. So the woe that we've just read right now is one of the woes that of what I'm going to be talking about right now. Um, I think I should read the entire chapter, but before I do, let me explain this woe. So the angel that is coming from the bottomless pit is actually signifying in prophecy. It signifies Ishmael. Signifies Ishmael because I don't know if you can remember yesterday we spoke about locusts. We spoke about locusts yesterday and about the east wind. So we went from Joel, we spoke about locusts and them eating. Then we went to Exodus, we spoke about Moses striking with his rod, and then locusts came up and they were brought in by the east wind. We then went to the book of Genesis. We read about Joseph in Genesis chapter 40 and 41 also. And Joseph speaks about locusts coming up and then blasting the lean ears of corn that come up and eat the fattened ears of corn. So we spoke about that. Locusts become insects that bring destruction. We see in Egypt they brought destruction. We see in Joseph's story. That was Egypt also. Yeah, in Joseph's story, though it is different phases, different time periods of Egypt. But we see in the story of Moses that they bring destruction in the plagues. We see in the story of Joseph they bring destruction by the famine. So, so in this passage now, we start to recognize the locusts as specific people. They are spoken about as scorpions. They're spoken about as horses with hairs. Does it how they described? They are described as locusts. So they're described as locusts. So um, they come out as locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power as the scorpions of the earth have power. So they come up as locusts, and they're given power as the. No, I'm not muted. What do you mean? I have a microphone right here. So this is the story of Islam. Firstly, because um, of the 5 months where they torture um, a the 5 months spoken about here. The reason is because the Turks in history, right around the time, right around these years, I don't know why it is confusing. It's like there's someone sitting there saying, "You're lying. Stop saying this. Stop saying this. That's not true." Um, and I don't know. I'm getting a little bit strange in my head. There's a lot of as I was saying, there's a captivity in 2021 to 2024, as I recognize that to be the cleansing of the temple. So I can see it's very mental. So I could be sitting there and I feel like I see myself pretty, but I feel like I'm not. I hear myself saying something that is right, but it's like there's someone there saying you're wrong, and it could even be me doing that. it's very mental. It's almost like mental captivity. Um, I want to talk about these woes as I understand them. In the prophetic analysis, the locusts are a symbol of um, Islam, and I think I also need to establish the symbol of them being Ishmaelites very well, but I understand them to be Ishmaelites, and I understand the work then that's spoken of here as they are described as many symbols. They're described as scorpions. They're described as locusts. They are then described as people who come to battle, and their types of hair, their teeth. They have teeth as of lions, and they have their hair as a hair of women. So to talk about how their hair is like long and almost like straight and very almost like the hair of women, um, and maybe they keep their hair long and so on. Um, Islam, Muslim men, I see them wearing a lot of headbands, and many of them they keep their hair very long. But I don't want to say that that's the reason why they're called the people here. Um, when you work out the prophetic, um, I guess understanding that doesn't make sense. When you work out what this passage is talking about, you find that in this verse, go to the verse, it is verse 5 of chapter 9. It says, "And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months, and their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man." So the torment spoken about as 5 months is actually calculated to be in the biblical calendar, a month has 30 days. So the 5 times 3 is 15, which is 30 times 5 is 150. So 150 days becomes 150 years, using the day year principle. So when you look at um, Ezekiel 4 verse 6, I'm just going to talk about these symbols and read the verses, as I think these are the things that are just um, prophetic, correct prophetic understanding also. This is like just basics. So the day year principle is coming from Ezekiel 4 6. So Ezekiel 4 6 reads, "And when thou hast accomplished them, lie again on thy right side, and thou shalt bear the iniquity of the house of Judah 40 days. I have appointed thee each day for a year." So the day year principle is basics in prophetic understanding. A day in the Bible, especially when God has called for the day to be appointed as a year. In prophetic understanding, the day will be appointed as a year. There are specific days that are not necessarily a year. It might not be a year, but in this specific context of this prophetic understanding of this passage, the day principle comes into play and helps people like Josiah Litch, because um, this is Josiah Litch's writings. His article on the fall of the Ottoman Empire So only when his article was fulfilled was it clear that his understanding of these passages was truth. So Josiah Litch then as William Miller in the days of William Miller studied that the day-year principle was Ezekiel 4:6, and also it was also there's another part as 2 or 3 witnesses something is established. I think it is Numbers 14:34. So Numbers 14:34 reads, "After the number of the days in which ye searched the land, even 40 days, each day for a year, shall ye bear your iniquities, even 40 years, and ye shall know my breach of promise." So these are 2 passages that talk about the day-year principle. Josiah Litch is a man who took the day-year principle and he establishes that the Ottoman Empire, Islam is Bible truth. That should be that prophecy students should focus on because their activities do are important in the Bible. Here goes to Revelations chapter 9, and I start with Josiah Litch because from Josiah Litch then I come up with my messages. So I have to start with the parts that Josiah Litch, where he started. Josiah Litch then determines that the symbol for is the prophetic symbol that locusts is showing. Locusts, scorpions, and these men that are spoken of in this army is Islam. So it's the Ottoman Empire. So the times that he starts, it is the war that the Ottoman Empire had. There is a chart I have here, and I don't know if I should take it down, but one day I'm going to have the chart right behind me, and then you guys will see the chart. It is I currently have the 1843 chart, so keep looking up so that I can see very well. So the chart itself has a Mohammedan on a horse, and behind him is an angel. So it's almost like the world comes, the first world comes, and the Mohammedan it does his activities, and this is a fulfillment of that woe, the woe spoken of in the Bible in these passages we just read. And then the angel goes, and the second Mohammedan on a horse goes forward in front of the angel, and then the third angel goes, and these are the 3 woes, the 3 trumpets, because these 3 angels actually have trumpets, I think, in their hands. It's almost like they're blowing trumpets, and the Mohammedans are doing the work. And the third angel blowing the trumpet doesn't have a Mohammedan riding a horse in front of it because the work itself hadn't happened yet. So Josiah Litch then comes in and he understands that it is the 29th of July of 1229 to 27th of July of 1229 to the 27th of July of 1449. There was a war, and the Ottoman Empire won against the Christian nations of Europe. And so this is what this is talking about. And when they won, they ruled there for many years. The war then continued, and the war moved from 27th of July of 1449 to the 11th of August of 1840. And Josiah Leach, understanding this, first thought it would be um, the end of July. So he thought it would be the end of July, but then the fall was supposed to take place on the 11th, and right before it took place, he got the exact date, and that's the 11th of August, and he quickly wrote in his article, it is going to happen on the 11th of August. The Ottoman Empire is going to fall, and Europe, the Christians in Europe, are going to win this war. And no one believed him. No one believed him because the Ottoman Empire is just so powerful that it was unbelievable that um, the Christians are gonna rule Europe, but they did. 11th of August arrived in 1840, and Josiah Litch's prediction took place and was fulfilled, and the Ottoman Empire fell. And in the fulfillment of his prediction, um, it brought impetus to William Miller's movement. Many people started coming in. I think it's over 300,000 as the exact number of people was just estimated in one of the Times magazine that I have in my E.G. White estate. I think Ellen White estimates close to 300,000 people coming in 1840 because of Josiah choosing the day-year principle that we've read in those two passages, and then understanding from the prophetic symbols this is gonna take place. So he understood this, and it was fulfilled, and because of that, over 300,000 people came in, and that motivated William Miller. So in the motivation to William Miller, he became strengthened to continue preaching that Christ coming back. He was preaching that Christ is coming back in 1843, and he was using that day-year principle to continue with that prediction. And in 1842, they started to make these charts, 1843 charts, and the motivation for these charts is Habakkuk chapter 2, which is him that run readeth it. And so these charts are supposed to simplify prophetic truths like the 2520 from Leviticus 26, 2300 days from Daniel 8:14, the Mohammedans in Revelations 9, 164 from history, just the prediction of what could have happened in 164. Constantine's establishing the Sunday law, the cross in the middle. There are many prophetic symbols that come up to that point 7 times, and the captivity of Manasseh 606, the captivity of Hoshea in 723. So this is where I begin. this is where I begin. Um, I'm going to read now Revelations chapter 9, verse 13 to 21. And it reads, "And the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is before God, saying to the sixth angel, which had the trumpet, Loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the third part of men. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, saying, having breastplates of fire, and of jacinth, and brimstone, and the heads of the horses as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke, and brimstone. By these three was the third part of men killed, by the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone, which is issued out of their mouths. For their power is in their mouth, and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils, and idols of gold and silver, and brass and stone, and of wood, which neither can see, nor hear, nor walk. Neither repented they of their murderers, nor of their sorcerers, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. So I come in now in 2020, and in 2020 we are reading this passage. This passage is an hour a day, a year. I think it's an hour a day, a month, a year. So a year is 360 days in the biblical calendar. A month is 30. It's 30 days. So days and days go together, and that is 360 plus 30 days. And that's 390 already. And then it is an hour a day. So it's 390 days plus 1 day, so 391 days. And then we have an hour. So the hour was the problem. The hour was a problem because when Josiah Litch worked out the hour, as he was the one who started working out this 391 and then the hour, he had a problem with the hour, and that hour put him off the actual day of when the Ottoman Empire is gonna fall. So from 391, 27th of July to the 27th of July, he took it as 27th of July, and then just a little bit over the 27th of July. I need to calculate a little bit further. I have been doing this over and over again, but from the 27th of July, he came to July. I think he came to the end of July. It's like the 30th of July. He probably went to the 27th of July of 1840, and then from there he went to the 1 hour. So 1 hour, he calculated it to be 1 over 24. So to try and convert that hour to a day, and you have 24 hours in a day, so that became 1 hour over 24 hours in a day, and that is the new times by 30 days to get how many days in a month. And so that turned out to be 11. So when you have 1 hour over 24 hours times 30, and that is 11, he started to realize, wait a minute, I can have the actual day. I can have the actual day. So he went back and he started to work out, and he's like, in the biblical calendar, but now we are in Gregorian calendar, and that's another thing. If this is gonna be exact, it's gonna be exactly um, in the Gregorian calendar too. So how's this gonna go? Um, he added, and it's about like it went to the 11th, so it could have been 11. So he probably started from the end of July. End of July is like 31st. Yeah, it's 31st. So 391 probably took him from 27th of July of 1449 straight to the 31st of July 1840, and then from the 31st he went to 11 days and he got to the 11th of August of 1840. Um, I come in and we start at life sketches, 411 paragraph 5, and Illinois says he sees these two towers. They are shaken, and she talks about these events that she sees, and these events are talking about exactly what happens at 9/11. So 9/11 comes in, and the Mohammedans hit again. Boom! Twin Towers fall. And as I read about it, because now this is my part, when I come in, and Jeff has already spoken about 9/11. I come in and I go back. I go back to 1989. And I already know about the Cold War that happened between Russia and America. So I know about that Cold War, how the Soviet Union um, fought America, and the Soviet Union was decimated. They separated and it ceased to exist, but it still had Russia. So, and I can hear President Vladimir Putin 2021 to 2024, he's been trying to put it together, put the Soviet Union together. And I can see that instead of him putting it together, the pontiffs have, with influence and the wars that have been going on, entered into Russia. And Russia now happens to be the capital of the Soviet Union. So I understand that part. But where do I begin? Wait a minute. Yosef. Yosef is where I am. And you can imagine, I am sitting at Yosef when there's a president. We have a president already in the world. Sitting in America's Joseph, the president of America in 2021. But I'm sitting at in 2020, in the 1st of August of 2020, and I'm reading a little bit more on Yosef. And Yosef is a soldier. He is a soldier who has been trained in Afghanistan to be very intelligent, very skilled in the art of the military. So Yosef happens to be, I don't know if he's the relative or friends with Saddam Hussein and these other figures, but there is a lot that has to do with Saddam Hussein, Yosef. bringing up these ideas with an architect of bombs, a scientist from one of those Soviet countries, very, very skilled and intelligent people. They come together and they decide to do something. They don't know how they're gonna do it. Are they gonna bomb America? Are they gonna? And then it turned out they already had people um, who were a part of their team, um, who were already in the army in America. And I don't know if they hired the aircrafts, but it seemed they hired pilots to, because there was a change of identity and all of this. So it seems they changed their identities. They entered into the airports. They went in, and then I don't know if they tipped someone, give them aircrafts. They went to people they already knew from the, because they were people suspected that they were a part of the plot to bomb the the Twin Towers. And so they bombed the Twin Towers. They flew straight into the Twin Towers, and those Twin Towers in New York fell. So I come in and I have that story as we've seen it in history. Then I look into the shootings of Paris, in the Mall of Paris, and I start following the activities of Islam through ISIS um, online on Google. And I follow up and I see all of these activities. Then I start thinking to myself, wait, hang on, it's midnight. And midnight, the symbol on midnight is 1821. Um, this is coming from the Millerite timeline. In the Millerite timeline, it was midnight. I think on the 21st of May, they started preaching, Behold, the bridegroom cometh, but they didn't have the exact messages. So those messages that started that midnight cry message, that point was called midnight. And I think those are the first camp meetings of the midnight cry before the actual camp meeting of the midnight cry. So the camp meetings are around 21st of May, and then the second ones were 15th to 17th of May, where Samuel Snow comes in a white horse, and he shares with the brethren the messages of the seventh month movement, which I'm going to share with you guys. Not now, but I'm going to share those messages as I want to recall everything that I have learned before I was kicked out, of course. Everything that I know from the latter rain, I am going to share for the rest of my life. My children, my children's children are going to know from, everyone's going to know, including our messages. We're going to know them. So that's where it's coming from. That's where 21's coming from. 21st of May was the day that marked the camp meeting, first camp meeting of the Midnight Cry in the Millerite timeline. So it was the 21st of May, 1844, and 15th to 17th is marking the Midnight Cry messages when Samuel Snow comes in. So this is all Midnight Cry messages. Another symbol is 18. I still need to establish it, but I know 21 very well. 2021, then I understand 2021 is going to be midnight. So I start to think, oh my goodness, 2021 is going to be midnight. And I'm sitting in 2020. And so I think about it and I'm like, and I'm kicked out of Just Movement in May. Oh, whoa. Let me understand. what happened with July 18th. As I was sitting there, July 18th didn't happen, and we were waiting for July 18th to take place. July 18th was coming from the Palmona understanding that Nashville in America is going to be nuked by an Islam attack. So a terrorist attack is going to nuke Nashville. And so the studies on Nashville come with the lady with the fortresses, the temple, the Parthenon temple. We're already looking into the Parthenon temple, which is in America, in Nashville. And I think when I talk about Manasseh and Manasseh's restoration, it is for that sake. We do have the temple. And I say we because now I'm included in that group of people. So we do have the temple, and unfortunately, it's not Adventist Church as a temple. It is the Parthenon Temple in Nashville, and that is linked to the woman with the fortresses, and that is the lady who's like holding up the it's like the Princess Reason that's coming from Alexander. I think it is no, it's Napoleon. Napoleon, um, almost like victorious um, over the pontiffs of the Catholic Church, um, leaving as a Catholicism is now becoming a free religion where everyone can freely choose to worship or not worship as a Catholic. So America has that temple. They have that temple, it's a Parthenon temple, also showing the fortresses, which is showing that woman, which is a princess or the goddess of reason, that that entered as a symbol of the freedom of religion and also freedom of thought and atheism. People say atheism as Catholicism was a symbol of Christianity in that sense. So I talk about 2021. I say, oh, 2021 is coming along. Then I go back and I check the study. I do the study all over again. I write my own study, my own notes on the study. I do the study all over again. As I've just shared with you guys, that's exactly how I wrote it on what article, which I don't know where it is now. I know I'm gonna write it again probably. I'm probably gonna find on my SD card. But anyway, I did it again, and when I did it again, I started to recognize a few things. The first thing I recognize is that Pomona is very, very important. And you remember when I told you what Pomona is? Pomona, for people who don't know, is come from Daniel 8:13. It is a translation of that sin saint. When you look at um, the concordance definition of that sin saint is Pomona, and the definition of what Pomona actually is a wonderful number of secrets. So a wonderful number of secrets, not something that's coming from the Bible. What's coming from the Bible is that certain saint. When you read about that certain saint, it's talking about the saint that's talking to that certain saint, telling them about the daily and the transgression of desolation. So that's where that's coming from. I take Pulmonite, and this is one of the methodologies that we were using as a 391.5. So now remember, so 15 days, um, which is 1 hour, so 15 days. The reason why I remember is because that's where the 0.5 comes from. So I used a lot of that 0.5. The reason being is that 15 is the half of 30. So now it's memory is coming back, and I realized not 11. The 11th is that day that dressage ended up in when he only included 15. So he probably moved from the 27th of July and plus 15. So that's like 27 plus 3. What? 27, 27. So 20, 28, 29, 30, 31, and that's 4 days. So that's already like 15 minus 4, that's like 11. So then 11 left. So 11 of August 20, 1840. So yeah, guys, we better be clear about this. We must be clear about it. This is like basics. And then yeah, now everything's like in order. So 391.5. So we understand the 391.5, and then it takes us to July 18th. But the brethren are going on our chronology, and yeah, a lot was happening there. We can flip numbers, and we can put them chiasms. We can do a lot of, we can add and subtract, and then you get a little bit confused. When do you know when to add? When do you know when to subtract? So those things were going on. But anyway, it happened, and then the brethren came to at least three commencement. I want to call them commencement dates, because this was going to start up a process of Islam doing a work, of course, of terrorism, which is going to lead up to a lot more going on that's going to take the world straight into a famine. So, um, July 18th came 2020, and it never happened. Nashville wasn't nuked. You can imagine, guys. Like Jeff was sitting there and he was like, if July 18th doesn't happen, guys, like, no way. Like, I'm retiring. I'm leaving. Like, I'm not even. And I was sitting there like, guys, what if it doesn't happen? Like, really, he's gonna leave like that. But then what is he gonna do? England was already, pushing July 18th. They were pushing July 18th because I won't say apparently, I was right there when this whole thing happened. So there was a brother in the movement who happens to be who he was working for the Times magazine for America, and the Times magazines are big. So this brother wrote, he was given an assignment to write another article, and I think journalists in America have been given a lot of freedom to do articles they feel is very, very gonna be hit in a very short time. So this brother, he started writing he took up this project. He was given an assignment to write about something, I'm assuming. But all I know is that this brother wrote about this. He was like, I'm in the prophetic movement. This is gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen. We are convinced it's gonna happen. Might as well just use this chance to write about something that's gonna warn people in Nashville. I don't know why I'm laughing, but it really was not funny back then. It was very hurtful. It was painful. Like, I want to warn people in Nashville that they are in danger, they should leave, or they should be aware, be warned. Something must be done. If terrorists are going to come and nuke Nashville, people must be aware. So Jeff wrote an email to President Trump. The brother wrote this article in the Times magazine, and it ran. America, like, before anyone blinked, it was already in Europe, and Europe took it so seriously, much more than America. Like, Europe, especially the UK and Europe, the article went by so quickly that the entire world knew in a matter of seconds. We could have just woken up the following day and it was so popular. Yo, everywhere, people are talking about this. Nashville's gonna get moved. Nashville's gonna get moved. July 18th. I don't know if I wanted to hide or if I wanted to, I don't know. But the time that happened, just Jeff, I don't know if he started to gloat, but there was something there. And guys, yo, it was so bad. It was so bad. Like, it was so bad. Let me tell you. So now the entire world is waiting for July 18th, you know. It's popular now. These people who have been studying prophecy for so long, they are popular now. This was this one event. You guys, hello everyone who's just come in. Welcome to my live. My live's gonna end in about 8 minutes, like 8 minutes plus. I usually go live for an hour. Whoa, guys. July 18th came, and there were 3 dates. It was 18th of July, the 27th, and the 31st. The 18th came, July 18th came. I was already kicked out of the movement. I don't know whether Clayton thought, because everyone's just saying, you know, if you're not a part of the movement, the time that July 18th takes place, you're not going to go to heaven. You kicked out now, you're lost. I was like, no way. I'm gonna, because it's my personal relationship with God, so I'm gonna stick to my understanding and stick to the Lord. Kicked me out in May, and May was the time that the article blew up. So after the article blew up, I was kicked out, and people in the movement, like, it's almost like keeping those people who now like keep it clean, keep it clean. July 18th is gonna take place. Oh my goodness, guys. July 18th comes, it doesn't happen, and Jeff retires, and everyone is like away. They just leave the movement. They don't want. They don't want to be a part of it. I remember very well still watching online because there was an online. The videos were online as well as on Zoom. So when I was kicked out of groups, I was kicked out of groups on WhatsApp, so I couldn't like see the ID to enter into Zoom, but I could go online and watch online on YouTube, like other people who've never been in the movement, but just to watch their, excuse me. So I went and I watched, and July 18th passed by and people left. There was a guy who called me Satan, it's Peter, and Peter goes in and he's the first guy. July 18th didn't happen. Jeff has retired and everyone's left. Everyone's discouraged. And Peter comes up and he shares about the love of God. And then there was another guy called Guy, and Guy also shared about the love of God, trying to encourage the people. I just felt like messages after messages of the love of God, and I was just listening to the brethren. It was really, really painful. July 18th didn't happen. What are they gonna do? What is gonna happen? Because I'm also a part of that movement, of course, at this stage. But even though they've kicked me out, But I'm sitting there and like, I'm a part of the messages, even though you kicked me out. I mean, I decided with God, you were not there, and you just found me here anyway. And literally, they did. They found me there. I went there. I decided I was going to be a part of the movement. I heard about the messages from a brother while I was still at school at WUSU. And I decided on my own that I'm going to be a part of the messages. That brother went to the work movement, and I was like, this has been my walk with God. Like, that brother was not there. I was sitting on the lawns of Wusu, like wondering in my mind, what am I going to read about now? And I started reading about random stuff like the sanctuary. And I've just become so bored. I'm doing this alone while other sisters are maybe not there. I spent extra time reading alone. Then I started having my own messages, and now I became very excited to be a part of this journey. And this is all what I did was God. So now they kicked me out, and I'm like, I've been here with God, so I'm not going anywhere. The 31st comes, and I'm busy watching the brethren online. I'm like, this is so hectic because the 31st comes, and there was that little hope in other people's hearts, probably that if it's not 18th, July 18th, then maybe it's 27th. If it's not 27th, then maybe it's 31st. All of those dates pass by, and I'm sitting there and thinking to myself, oh, yeah, July 18th, 27th, 31st, what happened in history? And I'm going back, I'm thinking, and I see, oh, wow, the activities of Islam. The activities of Islam. And I'll go back and I think about it, and I was like, what does it represent? And I start thinking about civil unrest, and I start thinking about wars, and I'm like, that is it. So that's where I came in with my prophetic messages, and I started looking at wars, civil unrest, and terrorist attacks. I looked into um, from within the context of the Parthenon temple. And within the context of the Parthenon temple, I got the goddess Athena, the goddess Diana, um, the goddess Diana of Athens. And I said goddess Athena. This is like Athens. So this is coming from Acts. And now I'm like, oh, wait, hang on. Princess Diana in England. Something's coming together. Something's coming together. So I get excited. Oh, I don't know how I'm gonna play. So in 2020, I didn't like use England at all, but I was like, now I know how I'm gonna play this, because I could already feel like this is gonna be a journey. It's the beginning of a journey, and it's like I'm gonna be a player, but then um right then I didn't want to mess up and like do a lot of stuff. I wanted to be progressive in my walk, um in my messages and my walk with God. And so I had in the bucket Princess Diana of Athens, as a goddess Diana of Athens, and then there's bull, and there was also the mob. And so I'm looking at these activities and I'm like, oh, and that's coming together. Um, so for some time, with my prediction of the Taliban insurgency, which I saw in history, I saw Taliban insurgency taking part in history sometime, and it just seemed to fit. It seemed to fit very well. In 2021, I don't know if there was a symbol in the Taliban insurgency that led straight to 2021, but I predicted the Taliban insurgency based off of something that's already happened in history, and understood that maybe the Ottoman Empire fell, so the Ottoman Empire is going to rise in 2021, and that's where it began. And I was like, when in history has the Ottoman Empire ever risen? It's like the Taliban insurgency. I was like, oh, the Taliban insurgency is going to take place in 2021. And I wrote that, and then I wrote all these other predictions about the civil unrest to explain July 18th. I thought I was explaining July 18th only to find that God is actually putting me as a mistake. I see myself as a mistake as July was, as Nashville was actually nuked last year. So 2025. So it's almost like God put me as a mistake to hide me for another work. And Nashville was nuked in 2025. And those brethren who didn't believe in my messages actually just ended up going another way. They probably saw Nashville get nuked, and they were maybe motivated by the power of the Holy Spirit to go back to their studies at July 18th and pick up Pomona chronology to do a work for this time that I'm not going to be a part of. So, with my messages, I entered into another avenue, another pathway, another work. My work is a work where I recognize the fulfillment of the Taliban insurgency, the civil unrest, and the second coming, and I participate in the work as I've been doing. So that is what I wanted to share, and now we've gone past. It is like an hour. So that's where my messages begins. We have Paul, we have the mob, we have the goddess, Diana of Athens, and I come in and I decide, oh, hang on, am I not Queen Esther, Ellen White, Queen Victoria? Let's bring it together. So 2023, I start up and I just feel a little bit sick in my body, and it just it kind of like boils me to action, and I'm like, I cannot sit and not do anything about this. So I start predicting about the destruction of Jerusalem, and I look into my studies, and I came to an understanding that definitely can be an Queen of Famine for America within my prophetic messages, and that's how this whole thing is has happened. So yeah, guys. Yeah, and I can just say it is just based off of hard work, really. My experience of the movement is very, very interesting. Um, as if I don't talk about people too much, but as an individual, my experience in the movement has been very, very interesting. Um, I studied the prophetic messages for 8 years. 8 years. 8 years studying the prophetic messages before I actually was kicked out, and then God's like, go, go. And when I was kicked out, I felt like I was in the deep end because I just felt like, oh my goodness, I'm out. It's May. And I already could feel like I was just cast out. I could feel the door close on me, and it wasn't even 2021 yet. I felt the door close on me, and I cried so much. And that's the final hours of me in the movement. But I still stayed. I still stayed. I was like, I want to see what happens July 18th. I'm going to stay just a little bit. And I did. And I just stayed there. The July 18th didn't happen. 27th of July 18th didn't happen. 31st of July 18th didn't happen. It was like, guys, it didn't happen. And then I left. And when I left and I had my predictions. And on the 4th of August, because I had my predictions done, I think I started writing right around the end of 31st of July. And by the 1st of August, I was done with my article and I was sending it to people. I couldn't wait. I was so excited. Sending it to people. People must know. People must know what's going on. Civil unrest and terrorism and wars. And I was so disappointed. There was a time I went to one sister and I was like, do you still believe in Pomona? She's like, no. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, that's what I mean. I don't believe in Pomona. I was like, I have articles that was based on Pomona. I think I understand probably why July 18th didn't take place. And she was like, nope, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in anything that has Pomona. I don't have faith and trust in Pomona, so no, thank you. And even after I'd like sent the article to people, they saw like, and there was a brother, he even said, from Africa? Someone from Africa is gonna be no way. God hasn't called anyone from Africa to be leader in our movement. And I so hurt. I was like, oh, goodness. I hear them from Africa, but I mean, a whole God can use anyone from anywhere. But actually, God didn't actually call me to lead them in their movement. He called me to do my own work. So that's a type of place that I entered into, and so did Muslim men. Muslim men usually um, go with the prophecy students and Adventism, but that's when they were diverted, and they left with me and my messages of Islam. So I left with the Muslim men, and it seems the rest of the world also left with me. The civil unrests and terrorism and wars, everyone in the world now kind of went with me, and I seem to be the one who inherits the world. I keep posting this phrase. I saw from Harvard. There's a professor there. He taught me CS50. So it's Professor David Malan. And at Harvard, there's he's like doing a talk, and this talk is on visitors. A visitors thinks big. So the title there at the bottom is written, "This geek shall inherit the world." So one time, so I see this visitors thinks big, and it has this title, this geek shall inherit the world. So the time that I have my articles and I start seeing something like this, and I'm studying at Harvard, soon after I got my articles, um, and I saw the Beirut blast. um, I just kind of thought about that. I was like, oh my goodness, I felt like I inherited the world, and that's literally what took place. This feels like I ended up inheriting the world. So I think and then the this message just fills the whole world is something that God can say actually began with my messages. Kind of, you can feel it, feel the whole world, with the Beirut blast, and the fulfillment of the Taliban insurgency. So it might have begun there, as I think these things happen little by little. So it's almost like I am a little rock, I'm a mountain as a woman, and I filled the whole earth with the Beirut blast, and yet I'm in the world. And then in God's church, they have their little rock as Jeff, and then they have their mountain as a Maybach, which is my mountain. It says it's his mountain. So it's almost like I'm a woman, but he doesn't claim me as his woman. So you can see now where God is sitting in this sense. I'm a lady as a woman, but God doesn't claim me as his woman. So I'm just a woman in that sense. I'm not God's woman. So I come up now and I'm like, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. It's like, no, just a woman. But, I love collaborating with God, so that is what I do. And I love the prophetic messages. But God doesn't say I'm his woman. And I think it was God's doing the whole work of one guy I know. When I was 13, I wrote a message to that guy. I think right around yeah, I was the first time I was using Facebook. I was probably 14. So in grade 8 in English, we opened up Facebook accounts for the first time, and we were using Facebook for the first time. And I looked for this guy and found him, and I was like, I feel so geeky now just talking about it because the guy's married, and it's just so pretty just seeing his wedding and everything. But I wrote to him, I was like, hello, and I think I like you, and all of this and that, very young love. And then he slashed back and was like, no, I hate you. But he didn't write it, he said it to me, so he hates me. And probably that was God's doing all along. Because look at what's happened now. Look at what's gone on now. Little rock, my mountain, fill the whole earth with his glory. And I see the ladies in Adventism, they are growing very quickly, as God glorifies the people in his church during the time of their temple cleansing. It's just a wonder. And I'm there, I'm like the rock, as I think, like the rock, it's like the living stone. As I just keep whatever it is I have, a little light I have, and I just go along with it, even after I've been pretty much abused. You get kicked out of movements, you haven't done anything because you like someone. It's like abuse. I have been abused. So it's like I carry that little light with me onwards, and that little light becomes big and it's recognized by pretty much people who are in the whole world. And so I'm very grateful for that, honestly, even though God not say I'm his woman, but I'm very grateful for the work that he has recognized with people in the world. And then from like him just recognizing this, it's almost like I'm just a woman in 2020, to him saying, the message is where I rest. And now it's like God is choosing me as a person that is where he's going to rest. So it's almost like I am his lady, I am his woman. It's like one of the chosen, but not really. As I can say that very confidently, because who doesn't want to be chosen? Doesn't want to be loved? But in the beginning, it wasn't like that. 2020, when I was kicked out by Clayton, God was not like that towards me. He was not kind. The work that Clayton did to kick me out of the movement was really not kind. God allowed it to take place. And the type of work the type of feelings I got in that that night, was of coldness and kind of a lot of shivering in my legs, and I felt like I was getting beaten. I felt like I was going through all of that, like I was going through the closed door. I felt shivers. I started to get very sick. Um, and it could be that God was showing from the soles of the feet of the priests. Um, the river Jordan is cut off. So, from the feelings of the soles of the feet of the priests, and who are the priests? It is Jeff and Clayton in the movement, but I felt it from the soles of my feet. Then only now I start to understand that then the river Jordan should be cut off. So the soles of the feet and the feelings I'm feeling should have been to the brethren who are priests. And when they cut me off, they should have recognized they're cutting me off, because there's a lateral message, waters from above. and I'm the River Jordan, but they didn't know. So now I start to realize, whoa, okay, so knowing about it put me in danger because people can just blame me and say, no, send it there, send it there. Um, and from there, it's like I need to start to hold on to what is right. And what is right is that irrespective of someone not knowing, um, people are accountable for what they should know, and they're accountable for they're accountable for what they should know and they don't know. So if a person is in a prophetic movement, things just come and things just happen because especially at a specific time, because you should know about it, you should know that it's happening, and you should know how to fight it when it's happening as God allows it, because he is of the opinion that you should know about it and you should know how to find it when it's happening. And then you're accountable for what you do know and you don't do anything about it. So it's like you've learned about pulmonary and you see July 18th didn't take place. And instead of letting it go, you go back to go and study it again. You're accountable to go back and study about it and see where did you go wrong and not let it go by without going back and studying about it. So, so this accountability comes in, and you can't just push things to people and say, go, 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 go there, go there. I don't know what this death is all about. I don't know why death is coming to me or sickness is coming to me. I can't run in this um in this topic. And you know very well that that's a topic that you were running in, but you let go of it, like July 18th, for example. So these are the type of things that now I need to be very, very open about because it's very important. I keep to what is right and also just fight and protect myself too. And I know also that it's applicable to me as well. The things that um, I should know, then I should go and keep studying about things that I should know. As Queen of Family for America, I'm going around, and first thing I wanted to know about were policies that President Trump, President Biden are working on, because these are the two presidents that are doing the work for this time. President Biden is King of Tyre, and President Trump is Queen Tyre. They are doing a work to show whatever it is that Parminder and Tess were trying to do to Jeff in Jeff's movement and what they were trying to represent. And they're doing a work in the world now. These are things I should know. Queen of Alma for America is very important. So I am accountable for things that I should know. So I don't know those policies very well. But when I look at the presidents and the work that they're doing, I can go to the Bible and check that out, as it is important. That's the first point I should look at before I go to the policies themselves. And I won't know everything because I'm a political science graduate. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawmaker either. Even though I might have an influence into things that are happening in the world, but those are the type of things that I'm talking about. So brethren don't have the abilities to say, go send this to her. They don't have that. When they see the destruction of Jerusalem, however it comes, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I just know from the word of God that it's going to take place. As I understand, history repeats as a very ladder. They don't have that ability to say, no, send the destruction of Jerusalem to her. And then someone goes and asks them, what do you think is going to happen? And they say, this and that's going to happen. They don't have these abilities. No one's giving them the ability to do that. So these are the things that is very important. Accountability of what you know and you don't do anything about it. When people are going to be affected, for example, by the destruction of Jerusalem, Jerusalem being spiritual Jerusalem in Adventism. And they're going to be affected by the spiritual Jerusalem. And I find I'm sitting in Jerusalem, literal Jerusalem. I'm looking at the Hamas. I'm going, oh my goodness, they just nuked the literal temple of Jerusalem in Israel. I don't know why I'm laughing, but I just started laughing. But because that's what they did. Hamas just went and, like, out of nowhere, out of nowhere, they just go into Israel and everyone's crying all of a sudden. I'm like, whoa. I think they're a rebel group. When people talk about them, like, oh goodness, that is definitely probably a rebel group. And terrorists have many rebel groups. They have many rebel groups. There's ISIS, and ISIS very, very seems to seems to be very, very almost like organized. And their rebel groups are Hamas. Hamas would just go in and like nuke Jerusalem. I don't know why I'm laughing, but like Hamas would just go in and nuke the temple in Jerusalem. It's like, where? From where? Everyone's crying like, Hamas. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm there in that story. I need to find that. I need to keep coming back to the story where it's not Hamas now. It's the spiritual Jews, because spiritual Jews are not, they don't want to participate in God's work. So I don't know how that goes, because that influence seems to be leading them my way when it shouldn't. It shouldn't lead them my way. Should be accountability, not leading them my way, for them to come and put me as a prophetess for their kingdom, talking about. Um, I'm not Queen of Famine for America, for heaven in this instant. Unfortunately, it's for us. So I'm sitting there where if earth does accept, then heaven accepts too. And maybe that's where it began. Um, I'm not at the point where the children of God putting me in places. No. So that is a problem now, because it's like children of God being drawn back to me, and it's the presidents of America. Like, no, 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 no. Why? Why you keep going back to that girl? Stop going back to that girl. Leave that girl alone. You have methodologies. Come up with your own messages. And it's like they're saying, but she also is truth. That message is also truth. I don't know how I feel when I do this. So I don't know what's going on with my mouth. It's like there's someone sitting there saying, cover your mouth, man. My mouth doesn't smell that much. I speak a lot. I don't even know if I have tonsils or something. Something's going on with my throat. I saw COVID again. I just feel like doing this. Just speaking, I feel a little bit better. It's also warmer. So it's like, my goodness, that goes on. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but anyway. So like, I'm like, hummus. How am I gonna wear this? Let me put this around like this. I really look like I'm in COVID. Oh my goodness, that's a genius. Oh, can you see it, guys? It is so clever. I didn't think about this earlier. And I could have worn my headscarf like this during the times of COVID. I don't even have to buy like a head. What is it? A scarf? What is it? It was a mouth. It was a mouth mask. I have to buy it. Oh, I feel so much more warmer. It's like my mouth doesn't affect me anymore. It just felt like it stank. Um, okay guys, so I don't know if this is weird for you, like me covering my mouth. But guess I'm a little bit more warmer and I don't really smell my breath that much. I feel like I have tonsils, so my breath like changed. And and I just feel like, I don't know why, but I just feel I can smell tonsils. And I also feel like I can't smell properly. So it's almost like my mouth on my nose and it really smells. And I don't know if that's actually my mouth smelling or my tonsils smelling or me not smelling properly. Um, what else? There is something else, but we're over time. Tomorrow I want to start. I know a caldama. I did a little bit of a caldama in Marathon 2024, and I want to repeat a caldama again and do a caldama again. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do a caldama again and repeat it, and then we're gonna move on to Baron Demonology and Herman Gog. We're gonna move on to. We need to quickly move on to the messages that will introduce President Kamala Harris. And that those messages are messages that talk about Adolf Hitler and revenge and avenge. So that is something that I'm gonna quickly move on to. And these messages are messages that talk exactly about that. President Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris in this instant, comes in with features, and these features started out with pale, so it's almost like going through the horses, but like as people. So features of who is white and who's black, um, and how to identify them by seeing them. And this is like AI. This is where AI comes in, and AI identifies who is a black person and who's a white person. Um, so the blonde hair, blue eyes are Adolf Hitler. During the times of World War One, World War Two, those are the type of things we're gonna be talking about in that study, and what happened there with Adolf Hitler with respect to the prophetic messages. So we're gonna talk a lot about white Pope, black Pope, and um, black and white supremacy, as supremacy becomes a very important thing right now. Supremacy and general, that's very important. So I want to talk a little bit more on those things. The friars are very important, and I do want to now talk about um, the friars and also the monks. The monks are extremely important, and the friars, especially when I just think about the bishops and the pontiffs of America. Definitely the monks and the friars are not a group of people I should leave out. Definitely should include them as they take up space as priests. And I find now I am complete with people like this. So these are definitely people I talk about. Whether whatever it is I talk about is something that seems to be good or bad, or whatever it is that they've done in history, really doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that I talk about them, um and yeah, however it sits with children of God, I guess that's for them and God. and how it sits with me is just is me recognizing the people and what happened in history, and I guess in that way I eat. So yeah, I think I'm done in this study. I'm gonna see you in the next one. Goodbye, guys. See you in the next study. Now my breath smells like onions. I don't know, and it smells